Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend G, and I am here every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on WEMS Radio. I've been here 1 year. Woo woo, happy anniversary. I am so excited that I have been able to bring you different people for an entire year. So I'm celebrating and saying, yes, I was able to bring conversations to you that were empowering, that were fun, that was lots of great information. And I look forward to next year bringing you more people so I have more exciting people to come. And my goal is to support you in finding joy and living your best life. And one of the things we want to do that is we want to do it with grace and ease. And as I look over the past year, I can say that based on the spiritual practices that I've been doing, that grace and ease thing has been really, really important. And I stress it because we sometimes get into all the doing, but sometimes we need to just step back and think about, so how should I be, or what should I do before I make that move? And that's where grace and ease can serve you. And I'm all about living your best life. And one of the ways I like to talk about it is with the whole spiritual toolkit. What practices do you use when you need to reduce stress, when you need to find some joy, when you need to just sit back and get some clarity? Over the years, all the guests have talked about different spiritual practices that they've used. And I hope you've gotten some of those and you're using some of them. So it's the 1 year anniversary. And what better way to celebrate an anniversary is to bring back the first people that started with me. And I bring these people back, Denise and Donna. And you guys may know them because they are my Be Well buddies, and we've been friends since college. So we met freshman year in college, and we've been friends ever since. So I wanted them to come back and celebrate with me tonight 1 year of conversations with Reverend G. And you can come back next week. Keep coming back on WEMS every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. and meet all the different guests and learn different things. You can find me on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason and on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. Come on, Don and Denise, let's have this conversation.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
how y'all doing? Y'all excited? Woo,
Good.
woo. It's my anniversary, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
Happy anniversary. Congratulations. Job well done.
Absolutely.
I know, and it's so interesting thinking back a whole year past, right? You guys remember the first show, and I was so nervous, and I had all these scripts and all these things. God, I got nothing right now. I'm out here free flowing, right? I was like, I got this, right? Because I talk to you all the time, right? So
Right.
a conversation with you guys kind of feels normal. And as I was thinking about, what could we talk about? What could we share? Because we could go many, many places, and we do. I thought about the fact that when we talk about Be Well Buddies, what that means, right? And what does that mean for each of us? And I thought, and what I think about is people are always looking for community. People are always looking for that space where they can be authentic, where they can be in integrity. And we've had this group where we have all these years, my God, right, been friends, and even to the point where at least the past 20 years we've been supporting each other in our spiritual growth,
Right.
right? And so I think that for me, that's been really important, having somebody there right alongside that I could trust. I think we talked about trust having to be there too in order to have that the relationship that we have. So I'm gonna let y'all talk, but I want each talk about what it means to you, this whole Be Well Buddy thing and the whole way we've come together. And our goal is that people can do the same thing. That was a
Okay,
lot,
I'll jump in there. I'll jump in there. I'm
Go
just
ahead, Donna.
excited.
You do your thing.
right?
Well, what I want to say is that, what I think is important as we go along this transformational journey that each of us are on, I found that it's very helpful to travel that journey with people that understand you, support you, will be honest with you, and will let you know that you're going in the wrong direction if in fact that's the truth. And that's what we do with each other. We support each other in truth. Now, Gunetta said we've known each other forever, and we met at college and we grew up together. So we know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's all going to stay right between the three of us. But that's the trust, and that's the trust that I believe you have to have. When we talk about be well buddies, it's about supporting each other and being well in all aspects of our life, mind, body, and spirit. And I think one of the key elements to making that happen in a way that you feel comfortable moving forward is to have support, and support from these sister friends that I've had for almost 50 years. I'm going to put some years on it. I cannot own it because I ain't afraid
I know,
to.
I got you.
But that's all part of the trust. If you know somebody for almost 50 years, if you don't trust them, they're no longer in your circle. So the fact that these ladies are here with us today, it's just a fabulous gift. And I'm thankful every day. And gratitude is a big part of my life. And I'm thankful for both of you. And Gunetta, you do it, girl. Another wonderful accomplishment. Keep it going. Go ahead, Denise.
You're killing me. And wait a minute. So I'm right there with you, Donna. I'm right there with you because Grenetta, and Grenetta, Donna and I always say this thing. You have different dreams, and we support you in all your dreams. Like maybe me and Donna are not on the same path as you, but we're there to support you any way you need to, be supported. But as far as our partnership, I've been reading recently about spiritual partnerships, literally spiritual partnerships. And that's what I realized that we have. So it is looking at our relationships spiritually and understanding how we can support each other, like you said, through the good, like Donna, through the good and through the bad and all that kind of stuff. The things that we need to improve on and the things that we do well. What we do is hold each other up and recognize where we're doing well and where we can help each other do better. You know what I'm saying? And like you said initially, Grenetta, with trust. With trust. So we trust each other. We don't have fear. So our relationships are not based on fear. Our relationships are based on like being able to tell the truth, the authentic truth. And you know how I feel about that. So it's being able to be authentic with one another. And it really has made a difference. It's made a difference in my life, period, and how I grow and all that type of stuff. And I believe even with us being being older, and some others in the audience, right? That we still have areas where we can grow and we can develop and we can be better. And that's what I like about the relationship that we all have. Like I said, the spiritual partnership, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. I think that's really good. That keeps me going.
I hadn't thought of it and called it a spiritual partnership. So when you said that, I was like, yeah, because everything that we do, we think we base it in our spiritual practices, but it's about our relationships. It's about our work. It's about everything that we do, that we are supporting each other in getting through it, right? And if you, like you say, I just jump into a lot of stuff. I'm adventurous. I try to bring them along, audience. I'm like, come on. I try to have
help us out.
I try to have them, come along. But the good news is that whatever I'm doing or wanting to do, the support is there. I never get a pushback. Don is always the one that's like pushing me further than I want to go. And Denise is the more conservative one. She's like, oh, Grenetta, really? But then I'm like, I'm out there. And Donna's like, oh, go a little further, right? So we're always, really supporting each other. And I think that's the part for me is, if I'm going through no matter what, I could call one of them and say, wait, I need to talk this through. Can we go through this?
Right. Right.
And that's really, really, really important and really great to have someone that you could do that with. And the thing I want to talk about too that's important is I know that whatever they tell me, they have my best interest in mind. And they hurt my feelings sometime and I'll get quiet, right? But it's always Denise, it's like HR.
She be real quiet. She be real quiet. There's no lie. She be talking, and then you done touched her, and she be quiet.
Yeah, you still do
I just want to add that.
So it's also my personality. So I manage a person. Denise is HR, and so I'll say things about. I said what I should say to him. She goes, oh no, Grenetta, the HR rule says this, right? So she's always telling me about how to talk to my employee, the guy that reports to me. So it's always funny where I would say, oh, I'm just joking. She goes, no, don't joke. You need to know the real rule, right? Because I'm not really joking. I do say it, right?
Exactly. Right.
But she always tries to keep me on the straight and narrow. Grenetta, the HR rule, right? And I'm just like, what the hell? Get out of here, right? So it's just really an interesting dynamic in the relationship that the three of us have together and how we support each other. Now, Donna is the retired one right now, right? So that's a whole layer of story, right? But what I love about it is that the way she's prepared for retirement. And we could talk about that, right? Because I feel that one of the important things too is as you start to get in our age, right? You can, we lost Denise, I guess she'll be back. You can think about preparing for that. And even people who have reached a certain age, there's lots of information that can support them in being retired. As we've seen at our retirement age, people are afraid to retire, thinking that they won't have anything to do. Oh, my life will be over if I keep working. And then others have financial situations that keep them working, right? And so it's just really interesting. Donna, talk about your process and where you are now.
Okay. I'm happily retired and loving every other to start out with. And and so I have a lot of people ask me as I was going through the retirement. I retired at 62. I wanted to get out there as early as possible and be free. And so I planned for it, and that's what I tell people. And they said, well, how do you do it? What do you do all day? I said, well, the bottom line is that I plan for it. I think you should have a strategic plan for any major project that you're going to undertake in life. And to me, retirement was a major one. So I did kind of a 2 to 5 year strategic plan, which is what I did in my business world, my professional world. I did strategic planning for corporations. So I said, I need to do this in my own personal life. And that's how I kind of live my life. But so what I started with is the financial, and I needed to identify what I needed to do in order to be comfortable in retirement. So, we did everything that, I would advise anybody to do. We paid off our house, paid off all the cars. We wanted to be debt free so that all the money coming in was ours. So I tell people, take a look at your financial situation and try to clean up all your debt so that you'll be free of the debt in retirement. And then the other big thing I tell people is that try to look at what things you do that make you happy currently, because is it a hobby? Is it singing, dancing, playing the piano, whatever? Traveling. Mine's is travel. I love to travel. So I suggest to people that, find your passionate projects so that you'll always have something to do and be motivated to do in retirement that you enjoy. Because yeah, if you retire and then you're just sitting around and you haven't planned anything out and you don't know what your interests are, you don't know what you want to do, I can say, yeah, you'll probably be bored to death very quickly.
And die.
No, Denise,
But I can say it's been 3 years now that I've been retired. And I have.
No, you don't have to necessarily die. But
No, I'm sorry. Like Donna said, if you don't have a plan, what else is left?
right, exactly. Right.
Go ahead, Donna. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And yeah, it's really important to have a plan and figure out what do you
Yeah, and
like,
that's what
what do
works for
you
me.
want
And
to
I just
do.
say that I just suggest that people. Yes, that. Those are the two main things that I would tell people as you're starting to think about retirement. Envision what it would look like if you had everything in the world that you wanted. That's what I did, and I just made it happen. So slowly but surely, like I said, either depending upon when you want to retire, do either look 2 years out or 5 years out, and try to just envision where you see yourself being happy.
Right.
A couple of things come to mind when you say that. We talk about all the different processes that we use to support us in having the things that we want in our life. And you mentioned a couple of things. You said visualize what you want, right? And visualization is one of those processes that we talk about as a part of your spiritual toolkit. And even in talking about retirement, the whole idea I've been looking at is visualizing what's next, right? And then in using that whole visualization process, it will start to manifest. It's so I thought about it when I was talking about it, because sometimes we talk about processes that we need to explain and have people understand how they work, right? So when I say the process, visualization is one of the things in the spiritual toolkit. But what does that look like? Remember, and I can remember when I think a long time ago when I was trying to go to corporate, one of my visions was to have this big office with a big window and the whole, scene in corporate America, right? I didn't get that, right? I got it now, but it wasn't where I thought I was going to get it, right? So I got it working at a nonprofit, but I visualized it was something that I always thought I would have this nice office, and it came to pass, but not the way I thought it would. So my whole thing is your life is a direct reflection of the thoughts you keep and the vision you have, right? So,
Right.
and I guess I say that is because one of the things I want to do is make sure that I can support people in things that help them and support them in being happy. I think everybody wants to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, visualization for me is one of the biggest tools that I used in making my plans. It's just, once you can visualize where you want to be, then it's easy. Well, it's the next step is to lay out the plans and the step-by-step actions that it will take to get what you want. But visualization is key, and the visualization process to me includes not only seeing what you want, but feeling like you have it right now, and it feels so good that it manifests. But I think if you have conflicting feelings, you want to retire, but you're having conflicting feelings. I think that you've got to put so much positive energy and feelings around what you want and that what you want your retirement to look like, that it actually happens. And so that's one of the spiritual practices that I use on an everyday basis to create whatever I have in my life, and that's what works for me. I use a number of tools, gratitude, but the visualization is a big part of like the whole actually planning out process and creating what you actually want to see.
Right. Well, Denise and I are not going to retire from our jobs yet, but we're looking at you, right? Right.
It's okay.
But we're looking at you, and we have a plan. So I appreciate that you were a model for us, even though you're the youngest, right? I appreciate.
Yes, I will. Yeah, thank you.
I will acknowledge it this one time, but I appreciate that you've created this plan that we could see, and that we could see in action, and then we can create our own plans, right?
Right. Right.
One of the interesting things, Denise, is that when we met a year ago, we had just started COVID, the whole thing of working at home, right? And now we hear you're going back to work tomorrow, right?
Why you gotta bring that up?
Right.
Go ahead. I'm messing with you, girl. I'm messing with you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
So,
listening.
talk about, just take us a little bit through, how it was for you. One day you're at work, and I know you're alone, and then all of a sudden you're alone in your home working, right? And take us through a little bit of what that impact was for you, and then what it's like now that they're saying come back.
All right. So that has been difficult for me because one of the things I realized working from home, working remotely, was that, my job is very stressful. I work in human resources. That's one thing. I work in compensation. That's another thing, because it's about people's money and how much they're earning and all that kind of stuff. And people got all kinds of feelings around that kind of stuff. So here I am being in charge of all that kind of stuff and trying to make sure people get paid what they should get paid according to the market, blah, 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 blah. So once I started working at home, it was scary at the beginning. And, I felt like I had to be on all the time, because I had to prove to everybody I was working. I'm working, I'm on the computer. So if somebody sends me an email, I'm ready to respond immediately. So that was another thing that I realized that was really weird, but at a particular point, once I started realizing, because every month they said we're going back to work. So, when COVID happened, every month they said, okay, we're going back to work next month. Okay, we're going back to work next month. All right. Like 15 months later, we're just going back to work. But when I realized eventually that, oh, no, we're not going back to work, I started to relax a little bit. Now, I will admit that the thing that I did different, and different things made me reflect just a little differently. So initially, I had my laptop and everything set up in my kitchen, right? So I was in my kitchen and I was doing that kind of stuff. But after months and months and months, I said to myself, oh no, this is not working, because I couldn't separate work from home in a way. So I had an issue with separating work from home. So then finally I said, okay, you have an office, you have an extra room, you can set it up as an office. When I did that, everything changed for me. So I set up an office, blah, blah, blah. Lunchtime, I literally took lunchtime off.
Okay.
I would step up, get out of the room, spend lunch, for an hour and everything. But I was still, that working remotely, I still was very connected because I had all my emails going to my phone, all my calls going to my phone. So I was always connected to work, But I also realized that I didn't have to be, I don't know, that stressed. I was very stressed.
Okay.
And I realized I could also get my job done between 9 and 5.
Okay.
So when I was working in the office, I was staying at the office till 7, 8 o'clock at night. All that kind of stuff, almost every night. And I realized you don't have to. You can sit here, you can do your job. So it took a certain amount of pressure off of me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have the same level of stress, even though I was still, responding to things in a particular kind of way. But I realized in the headspace, I could take care of things within a specified time.
Okay.
Time limit. So now this whole thing, and this whole thing about returning to work tomorrow, literally tomorrow, I am very disappointed for a couple of reasons. Some of them is I'm not in control of. So some of them that we were promised we could do flexible work, and basically that's not the truth.
Okay.
They're telling us, no, you can't do it. So I had to get over that.
Okay.
So right now I'm in the space of, I'm in that space where, okay, this is the truth. You got to go back to work. It's okay. Just go back to work. You did it for years.
Right.
But I also realized that I really like the whole notion of not being as stressed. Understanding that there's more than one way to do something.
Right. You know what I came to mind also is that being at home, you realize other aspects of yourself, like pottery, planting plants and cooking and doing things that you love. So if you're going to be going to work, coming home at 7 at night and working on the weekends and doing all that, that'll take away from the things that we did during the lockdown period, right? We found a lot of creative things that we started to do.
I realized that I no longer want to do that. I no longer want to take away from my own personal life for my work life.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to do that anymore. Like I can still have both. Like I can have both. But I will say this, that it also made me realize, like, if the company can't recognize that, then I got issues around that.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother thing, because I got it really good. I don't have to go in one day in August, a week, and then 2 days from September to December. So they realized that everything around being remote, they are really keeping it in place. So I feel fortunate and I'm grateful that they recognize that we don't have to be there to do our jobs, right? That there are certain things. But in January, we'll reassess, right? How much do we really have to be there? But I don't think I'll ever have to go back 5 days a week, based on the current job that I have and how it's set up, So I think there'll be a lot of flexibility around it. However, you do have to fill out these forms to say that you want the flex.
Well, yeah, so forms are forms. That's no big deal. But the whole thing is, if you can't have a conversation, which, honestly, my organization that I work for has said in the sector that I work for, the division that I work for, they're saying we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear anything. They don't want to have any kind of conversation. We're already losing people and all that kind of stuff. What they're not recognizing is that, first of all, losing people, you got to replace these people. And the rest of us are there doing extra work, more work, harder work, all this type of stuff. We're trying to make major changes, and you're not recognizing that. You're not acknowledging it. You're saying that because literally what they are saying to us is that they're uncomfortable with the idea. Now, they know it worked for 15 months.
Right.
They know that it worked for 15 months. And I'm not saying it worked for everybody.
Right. No.
I'm not saying it worked for everybody. And everybody in our organization was not at home, was not working remotely.
Mm-hmm.
It was a smaller percentage that was working remotely.
Oh, okay.
And of that percentage,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody could do it, and not everybody liked it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you have.
So I don't understand why the few now that who do like it, who showed that they could do it, who showed that it worked, because we didn't have to shut down the company. People didn't lose their jobs because of this, because everybody was doing their job. Everybody got their job done, all this kind of stuff. But you're saying that we got to go back, sit in the chair. They literally are saying something like that, sit in the chair and you know, do that. And that at some point they will reevaluate it. Like, for instance, they got to go to if somebody wants to work remotely, they have to submit a form, like you're saying. And I get that. I get it. It's HR, like you said. I am HR. So I get it. There's rules.
Right.
But not only do they have to submit it to their boss, to their boss's boss, but to whoever is the head of that division.
Wow.
They have to review it. And that's ridiculous.
A lot. Yeah, it's a lot. But I think that we'll see a lot of that going on in companies right now. They're not sure how to come back, what to do with people. I thought I didn't really want to be negative, but I thought that too, once you start to do the remote, in some companies, people will say, well, why is she home and I'm not home, right? You know,
but here's the deal. And again, no, but I do get that. I get that, because that's what they're saying. That's what the higher ups are saying. And again, I'm compensation. So, you know, I understand jobs and everything.
Right.
So there's certain things. There's certain jobs, whether we work remotely or not, your ass gotta be at work. You gotta be on the grounds. It doesn't matter. No matter what. If you are, let's just say you work at a university.
Right.
If you are part of public safety, you can't work remotely.
No, right.
You gotta be on the ground.
Right, exactly.
There's certain things. If another one, for the most part, you can have a hybrid. If you work with students.
Right, exactly.
You may be able to have a hybrid.
Right.
You know, in you know, on campus and off campus. But there are certain jobs, no matter what, it doesn't matter whether you work at a university or different things. There's certain jobs you gotta be physically there. There are other jobs, like people who work in HR.
Right.
You don't have to be in the office. People like me in compensation, I could be anywhere because I can still deal with people. That's what I've been doing the last 15, 16 months and still take care of all the different issues that are surrounding.
This is a good question for you. So what spiritual practices are you going to use to support you through this?
Well, I've been using everything right now. I'm not kidding. I got to pull up everything right now. So, you know, I've been using a variety of different things. I've been using meditation and visualization. Just trying to, the biggest thing I think for me during this particular time is just understanding, just trying to be more open about different things. So like even this whole point, like tomorrow I got to go back to work. So instead of being upset about it and angry about it, I'm just open about it. Okay, what's happening for me right now, blah, blah, blah. Let me just be open about it. Let me just put it out there in the universe, that kind of stuff. So that's the stuff that I've been working on more. Those are the kind of spiritual practices that I've been working on.
That's interesting, because part of what we really talk about is, as life happens, right? what tools do we have and what things do we use to support us as we get to certain points, right? As different things start to happen, what are we using, right?
I'm hoping that I am open to whatever opportunities come to me through me. That's what I'm trying to be aware of. I'm trying to be very aware of different things. So I'm really doing my best not to be angry or not to fight, because I can't fight what is the truth. Right now, the truth is I got to go back to work tomorrow. You know, so today I've been preparing for going back to work tomorrow. You know what I mean?
And that looks like really just preparing your mind. I think it looks more like preparing to be open to what's next, right?
Exactly.
And it's a big transition, you know, after, like you say, 15 months, you're like going to the new job again, to go in, to physically go to work, to get.
And especially when they told us different. That's what I think is another thing, because they told us different.
So
and
now you have to prepare yourself. So you have to use something to say, okay. And what I get, it'll linger if we say, but you told me, rather than saying, all right, you lied, it ain't happening. I'm gonna move on,
no. So I had to get over that.
Yeah,
I was there. You know what you're saying, but I did have to get over that. And the same thing is that certain things, at least in my situation, have changed. So I am consistently reminding myself that things have changed. So do not keep trying to respond the same way you have in the past, because it really is different. So be aware of that. You know, so it's awareness. You know, the spiritual practice of awareness.
Yeah, I think that's like a really critical point to make, is that, you know, you first of all have to be aware in order to move forward, accept what is, and then decide that you're going to move on and make the best of whatever is to come. You know, and that's a big shift. You know, like you said, it's responding versus reacting. But the first step, I agree with you, is definitely, it has to be awareness. You have to be aware in order to make the changes you need in order to, you know, respond differently.
Right.
Awareness is interesting, because when we always talk about how we move through life, right, and we're just moving and not even conscious of some of the moves that we make, and not even just being aware, and it brings to mind even being present, you know, and in being present you'll kind of know what's going on, right? And the awareness part, it's also when you're aware of a particular behavior or a particular way of being, becoming aware of that, right, is when you can shift it. And we talk more about shifting. What do we use? See, I think I keep coming back to the point for me of supporting people, spiritual practices, what tools they could use, right? And then I like the example we're talking about, because we look at just things that happen in everyday life. We want to look at what's happening to people just on a everyday basis, and what tools can support them. And everyone is in different situations and doing different things. Donna, can you talk a little bit about
Talk about what?
Yeah, exactly.
No, wait,
talk about what?
Being at home and doing nothing. No.
No, she did not. No, she did not.
She called me out. She called me
She
out.
did.
Well, what I could say about that is, okay,
I didn't
people,
mean it like that, right?
it's okay.
Well,
You can say, I know what you mean. It's
okay.
okay. Edie Bay, it's okay.
Okay.
Well, and I think what Grenada is referring to is the fact that when you're retired, a lot of people ask you all the time, well, what do you do all day? How can you be retired? How does that work? And, for me, retirement meant doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and only I could make those decisions. I felt like, working for, my whole adult life that, somebody else, my job, my boss, they were in charge, and I had to do it because I had a family to raise, and you do what you have to do. But I
Right.
never really loved any of my jobs. I did them, I made good money, but
Oh
I wasn't
no.
passionate about any of them, and so did it, and so I wanted to get out as soon as possible. If I had been doing something that I actually enjoyed and was passionate about, I would probably still
Yes.
be there. And there's some things
Right.
that I do, like volunteering with kids and sharing my knowledge. That's the
Right.
kind of things that make me passionate. So what I do every day is I decide, what do I want to do today? If it doesn't, my motto is if it's not easy, I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm just looking to, play hard because I've worked hard. And, so it's just about being present and aware of what's going on in my life. It just happens to be that that's where I am now. My husband's
You,
retired. I'm retired. We like to travel and we can afford to, and we're blessed. So I say, do what you love. And I love to travel and I love to be free to decide whenever I want to do that and however I want to do that.
well, do
So,
you think, actually, let me jump in. Do you think that,
okay.
or can you say where and if it improved different areas in your life being
Um,
retired?
yeah, I think so. I think it's made me look at the areas that I needed to strengthen. And one of those, was like my relationship with my husband. Being married 40 plus years, you got a lot of ups and downs. And he finally retired. So this is the first time in our lives that we've ever been together 24/7. So that was a big adjustment
Right.
for
Right.
both of us. And what
Yeah.
I learned through the whole process was communication is the most critical thing in any relationship you have, friends, sisters, anything, husband, spouse, whatever, any relations, communication is essential. And what I learned is listening is the most critical part of that conversation. You have to be able to listen. And I found that's where I've strengthened myself is I've worked on being patient. I've worked on doing more listening, because that's what I found. You know, if I wasn't hearing what people are saying to me, then how could I really respond appropriately? And
Mm.
and when we
Mhm.
communicate, most of us, we're if we're listening to jump in with what we want to say, and we really are
Right.
not hearing what they're
Mhm.
saying. So
Mhm.
Right.
I found that that just and that's what I'm working on is those type of areas of improvement for myself, and having more patience and learning how to more effectively communicate with somebody that I've been communicating with over 40 years, and we still sometimes are not on the same page.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
there's always something to work on, and for me it's really about relationships, because for me relationships mean everything. That I like to nurture relationships, and I like to be connected, and in order to do that with anybody, you really have to do some effective listening. And so those are a couple of things that I've been working on in retirement.
I think about that too, because I think about being in relationship. And with my husband too. I have to think about how I'm being the impact. He keeps saying, "You change, you change." I don't know how I changed, right? So I have to say, well, what? How am I different, right? At the same time, also being the person that's always like going and moving, I have to step back and listen more to what he's saying, right? So that I can really understand where he's coming from. And I've been like lately looking at just our friends and couples and being in relationship. It's so interesting to think about being with one person and how to be with them in an authentic, truthful, honest way. And it does come down to communication and how you communicate. And it's tricky. I tell you, it's tricky. We've got the tricky little bastard, right? It is a tricky
Right.
thing,
Right.
right? Because also we're also always changing and growing and looking for new things. So how do you share that with a partner? How do you be there with them, through all of that? So I think that at the forefront of relationship, like the relationships that we have, open, honest communication, right? I think we communicate more open and honest with each other sometimes than we do in these partnerships, right? And it's probably because of the trust and the level that you can say whatever you want to say and feel like it won't be judged or you'll be
Yes, yes,
heard
yes.
or you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying. I don't have to
yeah, yeah,
explain this
yeah.
shit
I
five
get it.
times,
I get
right?
it. No, you're right. Yeah,
Right.
that's why I got 2 ex-husbands. That's why I got 2 ex. Because you don't want to hear. People don't want to hear. It's a hard thing to honestly share the truth about what's going on with you. And the truth about what's going on with you actually doesn't have anything to do with the other person, but that other person doesn't always understand that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So they don't always understand that. So you all can't always, come to like we were all saying at the very beginning, is that we have a lot of trust with one another.
Right.
We've known each other for a long time, and we've been through a variety of different things, and we realize that none of us are trying to hurt one another.
Right.
Even when we speak the truth, we're not trying to hurt one another.
Exactly.
And we're able to step back a little bit. Because like you said, Renetta, you get quiet. Everybody has their own way with dealing with it. We all take a moment, we all step back a little bit, and then we think about it. But we know it just comes from a place of love.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the whole thing. Honestly, I just realized, like I said, 2 marriages and all that kind of stuff. I just realized, if you can't communicate that way, it just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not putting it on anybody, but if you cannot communicate honestly in that fashion without being hurt and all that kind of stuff, that's it's just not going to work.
Right. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a challenge, though. It's a challenge. Think about but I think though, like we say, once we're aware and we know, then we could take the steps and we could start to listen more, and we can create a way where I want to be in the relationship, but I don't want to be crazy either, right? And I don't want to be restricted or anything. So what is it? And I own everything. So the energy in the room is me, right? And so in doing that, I'm going to take responsibility and do what I need to do on my end. And I make mistakes, and I'm not saying I always get it right? But I try to come back and try to have that open, honest communication. And that's one thing I think about retiring and being with this person. Like you say, y'all 24/7. I've been on the go 24/7, right? So to think about, settling in, right? No, honestly,
that's a change. That's a big change.
Right. And I don't think I'm a settle in, but I'm saying the whole idea of what kind of life to create. that works for both, you know, being
Yes. Yes.
considerate and totally being true to myself. So I will work very hard to be true to myself and to respect my husband and the relationship. And I will work really, really hard to make it all work, right?
Yep.
Look at Denise said,
I'm just thinking, I'm just laughing to myself. It's one of those things, honestly. I'm so happy I'm not married. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
You said it's about the truth, right?
Honestly, this is a good time in my life. I'm not saying I don't want to be with someone, but
No,
honestly, right now, because it's complicated. It's very complicated because just what you both are saying and what I was even saying, if people can't deal with the truth, everybody has to be able to face the truth of what that situation is.
right.
If one person decides they don't want to deal with the truth, it's very hard to get beyond that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Communicate. You can't communicate if you both are not, coming from the same place.
Right.
But if you own it, like I said, I own it. So I'm gonna be the one to say, all right, Granetta, who are you being? What are you doing? What are you bringing? How are you being? And no matter how the person is responding, I still have to say, what are you doing to have that person act like that, right?
Yes.
You know,
we have to all own our responsibility in what's going on.
Yes.
Always.
But everything isn't our fault.
I'm not saying it's our fault. It's I'm not saying fault at all. I'm saying it's about energy and response and how I can say one thing will cause you to respond in a way. And if we get caught up in a certain energy, then we'll never get to where we need to be. That's what I'm saying. So it's really about for me, it's all about
responding in a compassionate way. I think for me, it's responding in a compassionate way instead of the quick reaction might not to be as compassionate. So I always take a moment and, try to, bite my tongue before I, spit it out.
The word empathy comes to mind, though. Empathy, right? And
yes.
Yeah. And it's so interesting when I think about just how
empathy and respect.
Respect
that's important.
Yeah, exactly. How we're so used to living our lives a certain way. It takes really a lot of empathy, compassion, communication, and all that to be with another person. It really takes something, right? If you want to be happy with that person and grow with that person and experience life with that person. The one thing I heard that touched my soul was that this woman said that her husband cared about her soul. Right? And so to love somebody so deeply, to care about their soul, right? To me means you can connect with them on a spiritual level. You can connect with them on a level aside from anything that's going on outside of that, So it's like that connection. So if you care about somebody's soul, you're caring about their life, their journey, everything that means anything to them. So to find somebody that loves you that much, that's deep, right? So in other words, right, being able to really just love a person because you love them without all of the conditions that we put in and all the expectations that we have around it, So there's a lot to it. I just recently came across this whole thing about what intimacy looks like, right? And it was really powerful because we take for granted so many things sometimes in relationship. And we're looking for these big things and we're looking for these things to make us feel a certain way when it's the little things, right? That are things that we miss because we're always over here looking for something else. And then being able to be in relationship and connected to a person to understand that and to appreciate who they are and what they're bringing to you.
Right.
I like, Denise, that you said you're happy not to be married right now, and that's beautiful to understand yourself enough to know that you want to be in a relationship, but it doesn't necessarily be marriage. And at the same time, being able to work on yourself to get to the point where you could get the marriage that
Right,
you want,
right,
right?
right. Because now I understand what it is that I need,
Mm-hmm.
that I need. I also understand the different things that I can offer, and then and perhaps in a different way. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just in a different way. But yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming up on time, right? To be over. I'm so silly.
Your 1 year anniversary
That's what I
show.
want to say. I want to get back to 1 year anniversary. No, but also the thing that I wanted to even, as we talk to people about like the show and what's next and what are the expectations, I have a lot of great guests, different people coming next. So what I've seen is I've seen how the show has evolved, right? I'm getting so much better with having the real natural conversations. And each one has been different. It's been like over like 50 different people in a year that have been on the show.
Exactly.
And I hope
Yeah.
that people who are watching the show and that are engaged really get something out of it, really get the whole idea of spirituality in your everyday life. That's what I always talk about. How is it a part of your everyday life? And as I've seen throughout the show, I call it spirituality. But when people came on, they were talking about their creativity. They were talking about different aspects of their life that wouldn't necessarily put in this box of spirituality, but they are the tools. So it's the whole toolkit, but I'm gonna call it a spiritual toolkit, right?
Right. No, right. It
Right,
is.
right.
It is spiritual.
Whatever you put in that supports you in living your best life, right? That's
Right.
the whole thing. And I was gonna say earlier, everything we do is to be happy. Everything we do is to find joy. Everything from the jobs we do, from the people we see, everything from the food we eat, it's all about finding that joy.
Right.
So that's what I want to support people in doing. You guys bring me joy. I'm so excited to have you in my life, right? And that we have been able to support each other. It's just like
Absolutely.
as life keeps going. So you
Right.
had Donnie, you get you a little few minutes to close, and Denise, what y'all got to say?
Okay. Well,
I'm silly,
I'll
right?
just
At
say
a
that
moment,
I'm
I was
very.
like,
I'll
let me
just.
give
Yes,
them
I know you're silly.
Go ahead.
All I want to say is congratulations on a job well done. I remember when we were talking about this. You've been talking about this for a long time, so I've watched your vision become a reality, and it's been a pleasure to go on the journey with you. And having both of you in my life has been a gift that I'm truly thankful every day because going through life, it's always nice to have people that understand you and only want the best for you. So that's what I love about our, sisterhood. And again, congratulations, Grenetta. You take us on all these journeys, and we're just so happy to
Exactly.
join you. We may not be out in front, but we know that we're behind you always.
Yes.
And I ditto that, and just want to add that we literally watch you think about different dreams that you have and different things that you want to accomplish, and no matter what it was, you've done it, and we've been there with you. We've supported you in all those things. I think it was the 60-year birthday weekend celebration. That was fabulous.
Yeah.
We cried because it was just like it was your dream, and we saw you have this in your mind, and we saw it happen. The same thing with this, and so many other different things. And that we're there, we've always been there. And also, like Donna said, it's also good to know that I have you two no matter what I'm going through. No matter when, no matter how, you two are there. And that's true friendship. That's true spiritual partnership. You know, we're watching each other and supporting each other as we grow spiritually.
Yes.
I do believe that we are spiritual beings.
Yes.
Living a human existence right now. But we are spiritual beings, and I believe we support each other on that journey.
Yes. Well, thank you, ladies, for being on the journey with me. And I insisted that they be here, people. I was like, you have to be there. Denise just found out last week she was on the show, right? She was like, working at her. I was like, yeah. But I really love you guys, and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And
thank you.
I will see you guys later. Talk to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So 1 year, one whole year, and I'm ready for the next year. And I would love for you to join me for the next year on WEMS Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube and the WEMS app. So I'm Reverend G, and you can find me on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason and on YouTube as Rev G. Live your best life with grace and ease. And I'll see you next week. I was like